Welcome to the channel. Today's episode is going to be about Invincible Compendium 1. Just to give a quick shout out to the creators of this comic, it's Robert Kirkman and Corey Walker. They are the ones who created Invincible. So just a good quick shout out to them. There are other people who worked on the comic, specifically this Compendium 1. So I'm going to give a pop-up picture of just all their names, all the different people who contributed to these issues of comics. The Compendium 1, I want to say it goes all the way to issue 47. So we're gonna get through as many as we can. I was sort of just flipping through them earlier, and I noticed when it gets to season 2, it's like not even a fifth of this thick ass book right here. So we're gonna have a good amount of content to be able to create off of it, and we're just gonna go through panel by panel. I'll post the different panels and go ahead and just summarize and go over whatever dialogue I feel is necessary. We're gonna start on issue 1. On the first page starts with Invincible flying in the air, and he's holding a man with a bomb strapped to his chest. And he tells him, you've really ruined my afternoon. When we go to the next page, we can see he's in a snowy area. We can see the snow beneath him. If I had to give a wild guess, I'd say something like Antarctica or something like that. There's nothing telling us that. And what he does is he just flies up higher and he throws the man high up into the sky and just lets him explode. So that's great. Um, he throws him up in the air. The explosion explodes and it throws him to the ground. He falls deep into the snow. He pulls himself out and he just goes on about his day, saying, "If I keep this up, I'm gonna give myself a heart attack," which I can see why. Then we fast forward and we realize that the comic is telling us that was actually 4 months ago. So we come back to current day and we see a woman knocking on a door. And she yells out, "If you keep that up, you're going to give yourself a heart attack." That's great. So she's banging on the door. And then we see the man himself, Mark. And he cries out, "Jesus, Mom, I'm just reading a comic book. I'll be out in a minute." And she tells him, "Well, you need to stop reading that comic book and start getting ready. You're going to be late for school." And then just then, he puts the comic book down right on his thigh. That's funny. It's crazy to think obviously, I believe this was made like what, mid 2000s. I don't know if there's an exact date on the comic book itself. I'll go ahead and post it right here and right now. But it's just crazy to think people used to be reading newspapers and magazines and whatever the hell when they're on the toilet taking it, doing their business. And now everyone is just what, on their phone? Myself included, like, but he puts his comic down on his thigh and he goes ahead and wipes his ass real quick. Oh, he grabs the toilet paper with his left hand, so he must be left-handed. That's crazy. Small detail. But anyways, he finishes up in the bathroom and he catches his mom in the kitchen. It doesn't look like there's any breakfast or anything really, but he just tells her, "See, what'd I tell you? Ready with 10 minutes to spare. I should have never doubted you, son." He opens up the fridge, and while he's doing so, he asks his mom, "Where's Dad at? Did he come home last night?" His mom replies, "No, he's had a lot of trouble at work lately. I just wish I knew where he was." And she grabs the remote after Mark tells her, "Can you turn on the TV, please?" She says, "Sure," and she changes it to the news. In the news, the first headline is Action News Special Report, Channel 6. And they're reporting that a dragon-like monster is currently attacking Taiwan. And new reports reveal that a blurred figure seen in the amateur photography is to be none other than Omni-Man, the defender of democracy. It continues saying eyewitness reports are that the battle has been raging on for nearly 10 hours, destroying portions of the town in its wake. Stay tuned to Channel 6 Action News for any further information. After the news goes ahead and states this, it shows back Mark and his mother, and it says, "Well, you know where he is now." And she replies, "I hope he brings me. I hope he brings back something nice for me. I've never been to Taiwan." That's great. Fighting for 10 hours, that shit's wild. Think about like a UFC fight. That's like not even half an hour. A boxing match is like an hour. So to be fighting for 10, like damn son, he's damn near doing a training camp. Oh, a 1 day training camp. But we fast forward and Mark's finishing school, it seems. He says he's leaving and one of his friends comes up to him and says, "Hey Mark, wait up." And as we know from the show, that's William. And he replies, "Hey, William, what's going on?" And William tells him that a few of us are going to hang out at Shenanigans and if he would like to come along. And he tells him, "No can do, pal. Got to be at Burger Mart in about 20 minutes." And then William goes ahead and tells him, "Oh, yeah, forgot about you having the job. Sucks to be you." That's nice. Let him get his money, man. Like, come on. We live in a capitalist society. He just tells him, "Thanks, man, and I'll see you later." Later, we get the famous scene where Mark is at his job. He's taking out the trash, and as he's taking out the trash, he just lifts up the lid and throws the trash in it, and the trash goes about 100 feet into the air. The comic panel zooms in on Mark's face, and you can see excitement in his eyes as he says, "It's about time." And if you watch the show, it's crazy because this is probably like halfway through the first episode, and we're about 3 pages in. It's always great to compare that how fastly how fast uh the show gets into whatever the source is from the comics and how fastly it just gets through everything because it takes practically no time to cover any of it, you know? So it's just crazy to think this is probably about halfway through the first episode and we're 4 pages in. That's great. But anyways, Mark's back home for dinner and he's meeting his mom at the table. And she tells him, "Let's go ahead and start." Doesn't like he's going to be home anytime soon. Obviously referring to their dad, to his dad. And Mark says, "Well, I had a pretty interesting day." And just like that, a table that was set for two. And just like that, this table that only had two people, there's a third. And it's a man sitting right there with his wife and son. And he says, "Sorry I'm late. There was an enchanted flood in Egypt I had to deal with on the way over." His mom replies, did you take care of that dragon?" And Omni-Man tells them, "Yes, yeah. Once I found out who was controlling the thing, there wasn't much to it. The hard part was keeping the civilians safe while I figured out who was behind it all." She tells him, your publisher called. He wanted to check in and see how the next book was coming along. I told him you were on one of your research trips." He goes ahead and replies, "I guess I'll take a day off this weekend and write a book for them. I'll have to pick up a couple spare keyboards. I hope the Guardians of the Globe can cover for me." And just like that, the mother goes ahead and continues saying, "So how was your day, Mark?" And Mark replies, "Fine. I think I'm finally getting superpowers." And just like any mother, she goes and said, "Oh, that's nice. Can you pass the potatoes?" This is just an average Tuesday for her. So it fast forwards once more, and we're at night. And it says, it's Mark standing outside the window of his room, and there's a little patio directly under his room, and he's standing on the roof of that patio. And he says, "Okay, Dad says it's a reflex, so if I can fly, it should just happen when I jump off. As long as I have my dad's invulnerability, this shouldn't even hurt if I were to hit the ground." Then that starts to settle in, and he says, "But if I can't fly yet, then it's possible that I'm not invulnerable yet." He takes that leap of faith, says, "Oh, what the heck?" and jumps off the roof, and he sort of just levitates. But the next thing you know, he's flying in the air. It skips to the next day, and we see a man who looks like he's covered in stone, and he's with two other men, and it appears that they're running from the police. The stone man says, "Boy, we really screwed that one up." One of the other men replies, "We?" And he tells him, "Oh, so it's my fault the cops showed up so quick." The other man replies, "It was a diamond heist. We knew there would be cops there. Why do you think we brought you along?" The other partner tells him, "You were there to take care of the cops so we could calmly make our getaway. You weren't supposed to run with us, you idiot." The stone man tells him, "Just because bullets bounce off of me doesn't mean they feel like back rubs. There were at least six cops there ready to open fire. Besides, they won't catch us." One of the other men replied, "Whatever, just get us over that fence." And he grabs him and hops over the fence. Just then, the stone man gets punched right in the chest, it looks like, by what we can assume is Mark in his little outfit from the first season, his little homemade Spidey suit, if you will. So he hits him right in the chest and then just stomps this fucking guy into the ground. When he stomps him into the ground, he barely can sit up and he screams out, "Who the hell are you? Are you trying to stop us or rob us?" And just like that, Mark lets out an overhand left. Hey, he is left-handed. That's crazy. What a subtle detail. He hits him with the overhand left. And just like that, when he hits him with the big shot, half of the stone covering his entire front of his body is just taken clean off. So it's starting to show us how powerful Mark is. Stronger than stone, right? And he just knocks the guy clear on his ass. He's laying on his back, and Mark tells him, "Sorry about that. I guess the outfit could be a bit misleading. I'm sure my intentions are clear now." And standing in the back watching him is none other than his father. And he tells him, "What in God's name are you wearing? And isn't it a bit early to be doing this? You've had your powers for what, a week?" Mark pulls his bandana covering his mouth down. He's never mind. Mark pulls his bandana covering his mouth down and tells him, 2 weeks actually, and I'm still getting the hang of it. I've been wearing this when I practice flying so people won't recognize me. I spotted these guys and just couldn't let them get away." Nolan replies and tells him, "Well, I can't have you running around looking that ridiculous. It sounds like the police are here to pick up these sleeping beauties, so come on." And in the background, you can hear the siren. They fly off together. Nolan's still in his civilian clothes, if you will. He's wearing a polo and khakis. And he tells him he's going to introduce him to a guy that can help him out. So they head out to the parking lot of a plaza. The the shop in mind that's in frame of this panel is called Taylor Shop. It shows the men who are already inside of the building, and we meet a new face. And he's standing next to Nolan. The new man states that he has had the secret workshop here forever. And Nolan's standing next to him, arms crossed, asking Mark, "Well, how does it feel?" And we see the first outfit Mark tries on, and it's orange and yellow with some bug eyes almost. And he says, "I don't know about this orange and yellow. I mean, it sings, but I don't think it's the tune that we're looking for. And what's with all these weird disc things?" The tailor replies, "They're solar batteries. I designed that costume back when I was under the impression that you and your dad's powers were solar based." Solar power based. Nolan replies, "It's a common mistake. Don't worry about it." And that, if you didn't know, is obviously a reference to Superman. I don't quite remember if he says that in the show. So that's great if he does. Go ahead and leave a comment, let me know. But that's hilarious because if you didn't know, Superman's power, he gets them from the sun, and we haven't seen much of it yet. But if you are familiar with Invincible in the show, Omni-Man specifically is just a spin off of Superman for sure, just without the laser eyes and the frost breath or whatever. But what a great little reference. So after he clears the air with the tailor, Nolan says, "Crap, gridlock is tearing up the east side bridge. I've got to go." And the tailor tries to tell him to use the north gate, and before he can finish his sentence, Nolan's already gone. The north hatch, that is. So after Nolan leaves the room, it's just Mark and this tailor. And Mark tells him, "Sorry about that. You get used to it after a while." The tailor tells him, "You don't have to apologize to me. I've been working with your father for years, and I know he has bigger priorities than looking at silly clothes. So what do you think of the costume? Be honest." And Mark, with a sense of doubt in his face, tells him, "I don't know. It just doesn't seem iconic. Do you know what I mean?" The tailor replies, saying, "All too well. I hear that all the time. Everyone wants iconic costumes, but no one knows what that means. Look, iconic is a little tricky, but your dad is, well, your dad, so I'll go ahead and give it a shot. But I'm going to need you to know, I'm going to need to know what your name is going to be, because that helps. Have you decided on a name yet?" Invincible takes his glasses off, his little bug-eyed ones, and tells him he hasn't really thought about it. So the tailor tells him, "Well, see if you can come up with a few good ones before you come back here. Then I'll see what I can whip out based on this iconic name." So I fast forward to Mark being in class, and he's either just working on homework or taking a test or something, and the teacher dismisses him, saying that it's clear to him that no one's gonna finish the test. So he just dismisses his students and tells them that they can go ahead and take it home and use it as homework. One of the students is wearing a yellow shirt and says, "Screw that. I've got football practice tonight." The girl standing next to him says, "But I thought we were going out for pizza." And he tells her, "Trust me, babe. I'm not in it for the pizza." Wow, okay. The teacher calls out to that student and tells him that he needs him to stay after class because he needs to have a private conversation with him. Just then, he's the only one left in class and everyone else leaves. And then it focuses on Mark, who just heads over to his locker. And while he's at his locker, there's a kid right next to him and he's getting picked on. He's getting picked on by the bully. And the bully tells him, "So you think you can say that again? And this time, say it to my face." The kid just tells him, "Just leave me alone." The bully puts his hands on him, on his shoulder, with his finger in his face, and tells him, "Not so brave when I'm right here in front of you, are you?" Mark steps in and tells the bully, "Hey man, why don't you just listen to the guy and just leave him alone? What are you trying to prove?" So the bully's attention suddenly shifts, and it's all on Mark. And he tells Mark, "What's the matter? Are you feeling left out or something? I'm sure I can make you feel included." And he goes ahead and gives him a little push right over his shoulder and tells him, "How's this?" And if you look right here, that looks like that might be Adam Eve. I'm just realizing that in the bottom right corner, probably foreshadowing when she comes. That's crazy. How great. And right when he pushes Mark just a little bit on his shoulder, Mark slams him into the locker and putting a massive dent into it and tells him, "Don't mess with him again." And of course, when Mark retaliates and responds, it looks like the lunch lady catches him and says, "What's going on here?" It's crazy how that always works when the teachers always see the response to a bully rather than the bullying itself. Tale as old as time, am I right? But that, of course, gets Mark a trip to the principal's office. And the principal tells him, "Just tell me what happened, Mr. Grayson." Mark replies, telling him, "He was picking on Steve White, the kid who has a locker next to me, and I asked him to leave Steve alone. So he pushed me, then I pushed him back. I didn't mean to hurt him." The principal replies with a grin on his face, saying, "That boy has a history of causing trouble. You don't know? Oh, that boy has a history of causing trouble, and you don't. You're a good kid, Mark. I don't want to see you start down on the wrong path. I don't want to see you go down and start on that wrong path." And he tells the teacher, the principal, I mean, "Don't worry about that. My nose is deep in the books. I got to get into a good college next year. I know how important this stuff is. I just don't like watching kids get picked on." So if he's going to college next year, then Mark must be a senior already. That's crazy. And the principal replies, telling him, "I understand that, and quite honest, I condone it. But you should have gotten a teacher or one of the security guards. That boy was almost twice your size, and it's not your responsibility to protect the other kids here." And he tells him, "You're not invincible, you know." And a little light bulb goes over right on Mark's head as he has a sudden realization. We fast forward to the next scene, and we're at a bank, and they're being robbed. They're being robbed by, it looks like, 3 to 2 men, each of them with guns. Yeah, 3 men, and one of them cries out, yelling, "Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt. We just want your money, not your lives." And this includes a pregnant woman on the ground who's just holding her belly. That's terrible. At least she looks more comfortable than the rest of them. All the men are fucking cowering. This woman is just holding her baby, or holding her belly like she gotta fucking take a dump or something. The bank manager pulls out a safety deposit box and tells them it's all there. One of the masked gunmen tells them it better be, or we'll be back. Come on, boys. And they quickly make for their escape. Along the way, they push an old lady out of the way, telling her move. And then they hit the streets of traffic. Once they hit the streets of traffic, they cross the street, and it seems like they get caught turning into a corner into an alley. The 3 men are all following each other, and they see another accomplice, a fourth masked man, heading their way. And they're completely confused, and they cry out, "Steve," with a question mark and an exclamation point, just showing the confusion. And you can also see it on their face. And we see what Steve was running from, and he was running from none other than Invincible himself, holding their getaway vehicle up in the air, telling them, "You guys looking for this?" One of them points the pistol at Mark, telling him, "Drop it, freak, or we'll blow you right away." And Mark replies, "I wouldn't try that. I'm invincible, you know." And just like that, that's the end of the first issue. How great. That was a great start. Good little quick origin story. We got along it went through a lot, honestly. It went through a good bit compared to like the first episode. I want to say just the first issue was like the first episode and a half. So that's real interesting. Reading this, I'm real interested in rewatching the first season also just to get ready for season 2. But yeah, that was great. So go ahead and leave a comment, like and subscribe, and just appreciate anyone watching the video. Later.